All right, welcome everybody to Stock Analysis Friday on this 23rd day of January. All right, so quick question out there. Make sure the audio, I want to make sure you can hear me okay. So let me know in the chat area that you can see everything and hear me. Also, too, anybody from the East Coast of the United States out there, how is the weather? I hear the bad weather is coming in, I think probably tomorrow, but I wondered if it has started already. So anybody out there, give us a weather update there. All right, so let me go ahead and get going here. And I'm just going to go through some of our administrational items here. So let me start with that. And the first thing I have to go over, of course, are the risks involved in trading the markets. I think we all realize there is risk. You need to know how to protect yourself against it. The first rule, of course, is always trading with money you can afford to risk, called risk capital, right? Secondly, also to always know how much you could possibly lose when you enter a trade or investment. So know where you're going to get out and then adjust your trade size so you can properly have the risk on that individual trade that you want. Okay, and you do that by changing the number of shares, or if you're trading futures, the number of contracts. So definitely always keep aware of that. And a little bit of advice on that. If your trade size is too high, you're not going to feel comfortable during pullbacks. And it's really important with trading, whether you're day trading or any type of trading for that matter, you have to have your stop at a place that makes sense for your strategy. All right. So for example, if you're trading using the ART system, you want to have your stop below that pyramid trading points base leg stop. And so sometimes those stops can be far away from your current entry. So lower the trade size so you don't sweat it. Okay. If you're sweating it, your trade size is too high. Okay. So just always trade comfortably, because then you can make good decisions. That's really, I think, the most important part when you trade is you have to be comfortable and be okay with the loss if it occurs. So that's super important stuff. All right. And then finally, past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. I think that's important as well. And also realize we deal in a realm of probabilities, not certainties. All right. So there's no guarantees in any trade you take. All right, so books, I'm going to put a link up there. I'm going to also put a link. Let me put a link right now up here for the Discord channel. Let's see if that goes. All right, I put that up there. Now, we have a Discord channel, and it's completely free, and we're using it kind of as a blog, and we'd love people to go there and participate. If you have a really good trade, post it there, and actually you can take a screenshot of your chart and put it in there for others to see. And the idea behind that is to help other people. We have a lot of new traders that come in with us every month. And so it's nice to help them out with charts and information. All right. I also want to put a link up here for the book, since I'm on the book page. I see the stocks coming in. Great. I'll get to those in just a moment. So you can take a look at our books there. I just recommend ordering my newest book, The Art of Trading. I've tried to put a lot about risk control in there, and Elliott Wave as well. Okay, so that may be of interest to you. And then also too, when we look at charts, and today I'm going to use TradeStation. Okay, I've been using NinjaTrader a lot, so today I thought I'd use TradeStation. And for those that use TradeStation, and the ART software works on TradeStation, NinjaTrader, eSignal, MT4, MT5, and also to multi-charts. Okay, so that's the software platforms it is working on. All right, we're also considering putting it on TradingView. So that may be something we do this year at some point, okay? All right, so anyway, that's where we're at there. And give us a like before we get going. And also, too, if you want to keep up to date with the markets, we have a report called the MORE Report, which stands for the Market Opportunity Report. And in there, we do weekly stock picks as well. All right, so I'm going to put a link up to there as well if you're interested in that. And then if you're watching the recording, the links will be at the bottom. All right, so let me just do that. And that you should see there as well. So you can check that out at any time. And then also too, don't forget, we do free trading workshops. This has replaced the client support workshops. We do these once a month, and we decided to do them on Saturdays, okay? It's the second Saturday of each month. So once per month, and it's at 1 p.m. Eastern time, all right? And we'd love to have you there, and we discuss a certain topic during the presentation. You can ask questions. It's right here on YouTube. Okay, so feel free to join that. I also put a link just up for our new price action course. This teaches you about fair value gaps. It teaches you about order blocks and all that kind of good stuff. So you can definitely check that out, and it's an online course. So I put the link up for there. And that is the end of the commercials. Yay, right? All right, so let's go ahead and get into it here. And Kumar, good morning. All right, we got Ed giving us a update on the forecast. South Carolina, major ice storm coming. I heard that. So you guys aren't going to get snow. You're going to get mainly ice, I guess, right? Which is worse, I think. And then I heard New York's going to get like a foot. And interesting. All right, so Ed's going to start it off with CRML. CRML. Hopefully you can see the charts okay. Just a little on the charts here. So I've got the scanners up here. Okay, that's what this is. We're not going to use that, but we are going to use the charts below. And I happen to have the 60-minute here, the daily, and the weekly. You know, you can just use the daily and the weekly if you prefer. Depends on what data. If you have end-of-day data, I would just use the daily and the weekly. Okay. Otherwise, you can, if you have TradeStation and you get the intraday data included, you can also use that. All right, so here's CRML and potential long on this. Okay, so let's just take a look at this and see where we're at here. All right, so I'm going to look at the chart at the right. Okay, this is our weekly chart over here. And we've got a nice move after taking out this fair value gap over here. So we created another fair value gap here. And that's looking pretty good. Green PTF, green owl. All right. And this dot just means it's a major, like a wave 3 owl. Okay. So that's what that means. All right. On the daily chart here, all right, we can see that expansion to the upside here. We no longer have a green PTF. So that's kind of interesting. Okay. So that has reached this high as designated here. This one replaced this one. So this was the new high here. We have a greed bar up here. So we may be seeing a pullback at some point. And the greed bar is just indicating that prices have expanded fairly far away from the EMA on that. Okay, that's how that works for the trend line. So we'll keep an eye on that. And so what we want to be careful with here, if we even look at the 60-minute, you can see bearish divergence here building on the owl. So while I like it, Ed, overall, all right, I think we may get a pullback. And so I would be looking for possibly that pullback before going long, especially since the PTF just went yellow on the daily chart. I do think we're going to eventually take out the high, which is up here around 32, and we're sitting at 18. We might have a market maker order entry drill going on here, which is accumulation and then more distribution to the upside. So that certainly could be going on. We have a fair value gap here. We did have rejection off that. I'm thinking here, if you get a pullback, we should not go below here. Okay, so you're only talking 3 points. So I'm thinking you got to put your stop below this order block here. Okay, for sure. And then I think you could go long now. Make sure your stop is here. Okay, if you even wanted to be a little more careful, put it under here. But technically this, is a move up here, move down. So this held here. It should be okay under this area here. So I'm thinking okay for a long position here. And we had a situation where we've already pulled back here. Yeah, so I think it's a pretty good situation. So I'm going to put this one down as a buy. If you want to be a little more conservative and wait for some type of pullback, you could. but I don't think you're going to get much of a pullback here, okay, after looking at it. So I'm thinking good. That's a good one to go on, okay? Let's take a look at your next one, FICO. All right, let's see what we got cooking on this one. Okay, so I'm liking this one for a potential. I want to put this on the watch list. It's not ready yet for a long trade. It's still coming down. We got bearish pyramids. And even though the PTFs are green, let's wait until this move down subsides. Now, what's interesting is on the weekly chart, let me just move that over a little better so you can see that. What you have here, all right, is a fair value gap here. And you have basically filled it in at this point. So you might get a rebound pretty quick on this. So I'm looking here as maybe we're pretty darn close to the bottom of that order block. So I'm thinking here, what I'd like to see on the daily chart before recommending this one for a long, and this may happen this week, is what I would like is a pyramid to the upside. And the pyramid will wait and form during this configuration here. All right, so let's, you still don't have a change in structure quite yet, but you're setting up for one here. You got a little fractal possibly forming here. So if prices pull back and then surge forward, that's your change in structure, okay? But that probably is not going to be enough for a pyramid, and the pyramid would be going against this. So we got to wait for a new pyramid, I think, to form on the uptrend. So let's put that on the watch list and take a look at that next week. All right, RBFK. Did I get that one? Did I type that one in right? RBFK. It's not coming up. Check the symbol on that one, okay? All right, let's keep going here. I'll come back to you. All right, so Kumar, how are you? All right, looking to go long on AMD. Let's take a look at AMD here. Kumar, you have one more coaching session left. So you should do that when you can, okay? All right, so let's see what we got here. Let's rotate this around here. Okay. Because now you've had experience with the software, you probably get a lot out of it. All right, so let's see what we've got here. All right, looking to go long. So these are potentials. All right, right off the bat, what do you see, guys? What's my favorite indicator down here? PTF, right? Check it out. Green, green, green. So more highs coming. If we look at the green on the weekly, we're pretty much at all these highs now, okay? So it's going up, but it's not helping us that much for a target because the target is right near where the price is. In fact, it looks like it's exceeded it this week. So this may turn yellow, actually, by the time we look at it on Monday, okay, by the close of business today, because that'll be the end of the week. All right, so let me just quickly take a quicker look here on this. I'm going to just compress this and move it over a little bit. I'm trying to get a feel for exactly what type of distribution to the upside we've had already, and we've had a fairly good distribution already. All right, let me take a look at the daily. I do wish TradeStation made it a little easier to manipulate the charts without having to drag all the time based on an indicator or price. They used to have background dragging, and for some reason, as an option, and they got away from that. You have to now click on price or an indicator before you can drag it. And I think that's a real drag. Okay, so notice how we came down to our trend line. This is drawn in automatically by our software. So that came down. We had a pennant drawn up in here and here. We broke the pennant. So that is bullish. The next question is, where is it going? What's the target? So let's see if we can get an Elliott wave count on this for our target. So we had that, and I'm thinking here, let's get our drawing tools here. Let's do an extension and run it right up from here to here and here. And our target's going to be 61 to 100. So we're almost there. I mean, you're looking at 311 to 384 and you're at 281. And your stop would have to go at least under here, Kumar. So I don't think the risk to reward's there. Okay. I would not do this one. Well, let's see if there's another one. Okay. That other one, CRML, that Ed gave us is better than that. Okay. AAPL. Let's take a look at that one. All right. So this one here is not ready for a long. We got a red PTF on both the 60 and the daily. And even though this probably will come down a little further and correct back to the upside, why do I say that? Because we have an extremely high owl over here on the right chart, the weekly chart. Okay. So that is indicating that this is a pretty strong move that we're up in. It's just that this pullback here that we're witnessing on the daily, and actually you can see it very well on the 60, is still coming down. So you don't want to, catch a falling knife, so to speak. Okay. Let's take a look at NVIDIA and see how that one's doing. All right. Give that a second to load. And let's see what we got cooking here. Okay. So NVIDIA, we've got on the weekly chart, and let me just push it over a little bit. So on the weekly chart, you notice you have bearish divergence. Okay. So you have a 3, a 4, and a 5. All right. And if you count using the oscillator, 3, 4, 5. So there it is. Okay. Now we're in a little bit of a consolidation, and you can see that very well here. So this is pretty messy here. All right. And you can see how volatile it is even on the lower time frames. And notice on these lower time frames, notice you got the greed and fear indication 3 times, and then it dropped like a rock. So that ERI is really an excellent indicator. You had it up here too. And let me just, give me a second. Let me just move this over here. And let's do a little of this. Okay, so what I want to focus on here is the greed. See the G here? And you can see that on the ribbon that it creates below 2, okay? And then we had a drop there. So when you see that greed index, that can also be used for scalping, short entries. All right, so I'm kind of thinking here, no go, okay? It's got to break out. You can bring it back next week, but for right now, I think if you went in, it would go nowhere, and with a bearish pyramid possibly even against you before it moves up. All right, so that is NVIDIA, and then Intel. All right, let's see what we got here. Once again, on Intel here, I'm just going to slide this over here. I don't know what's going on with this. Okay. Not really sure what happened with that one. I think maybe, let's see if that pulled down. Huh. I'll have to maybe reload it. But, all right. So in any case here, greed index here. See the greed and then drops. So we use these greed bars when they form, like the 1Bs and 2Bs. They are usually used for scalping. All right. So we had one there and then it fell here. So we've got a bearish bar on the weekly and we've got to pull back here. So I'm thinking it's still going to pull back a little more. Okay. I don't think it's done pulling back. So bring this one back next week. Okay. All right, let me just keep going here. All right, RB. Okay, RB. Okay, this is the one that I typed in before that did not come up. Okay, there we go. Just had an incorrect symbol there before. All right, let me just see what's going on with my owl here. I must have hit something there because it's not looking accurate on that for some weird reason. Give me 1 second. Let me go into my studies, edit studies. We're going to reload that one. Let's remove. Okay, and then close. All right, and then let's add it back in. Okay, there it is. The setting must have gotten whacked on that. All right, let me just scoot these all down here. Okay, now we're back in business. All right, so I might have done something when I clicked on it. All right, so on this one here, this I'm thinking, Ed, not yet. Okay, green PTF. Let's see if that holds, but it's still moving down. I haven't seen enough of a turnaround yet, and we still have a red owl even on the 60. We've got a new pyramid forming here, so that's a good sign with a nice breakaway fair value gap. That's on the 60. What I want to see is have that on the daily before going into a longer term trade. Okay. Okay. Okay, Kumar. Anytime you're ready. There's no rush, by the way, so just make it according to your schedule. All right. So, Ed, let's take a look at these. NUTX. All right. So potential longs here. So let's see what we got here. Let me move this down here. Oh boy. I'll tell you, this is the one thing about TradeStation that I never figured out why they disabled that enable background dragging. Okay, so anyway, uptrend in place on the weekly. All right, we've got a daily chart here with bearish divergence, and we've got a move up off there. So the next question is, where is it going? And let's move this over because to me, this looks like a huge owl to the downside on this. Yeah, I'm not liking it. Okay. I think you can find a better one. I think your CRML is much better. Let's take a look at SMCI. All right, green PTF, I'm liking that. But we haven't turned around quite enough yet on the daily. Let me just see here 1 quick second here. Small, but very non-existent fair value gap. Yeah, if this had a better fair value gap here, I would be more into that. You have a little bit of one here, breakaway here. You do have a change in structure, so I'm liking that. I would say the owl also just turned green on that daily. I don't know if you can see it there at home, but it's right there. So it's looking pretty good. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. Got a bearish bar forming today, as you can see there. And you see, you really don't have too much of a fair value gap there. So what I would like to see, I think, is a pyramid to the upside, okay, before I go on that. So bring this one back next week. This one could be really close, or it may be starting now. It's just we need a little bit more information before deciding if that's really a good long trade at this point. So it's setting up. Let's just say that. All right. So GLXY. Okay, nice retracement with a pop here. Okay, this one looks good to me. All right, so a couple things we'll go over here. One is we have a fair value gap here, okay? We also can see that same fair value gap breakaway here, break in structure here. And this doesn't bother me because we had a bullish here and we have here, we had a correction pretty nicely. Let's just go ahead and, if you drew the fibs, I can tell you right now it's 50%. So this was a go, okay? I'm liking this a lot. It could pull back a teeny bit more, but I wouldn't worry about it if it does. All right, GLXY is a go. That's a good trade to the long side. All right, so my target for this is going to be up in this area here. If you want, you could take a partial when it gets into this congestion here. Okay, so that could be an area for a partial, and then it should exceed that. So I'm thinking pretty good. All right, so this is a go. Now, what's the downside to this? You got to put your stop, I think, below this order block here. So you got to give it some room. That's 6 points, but that's okay because we're going for, I think we can get above 50 actually. I think it'll take that. Once again, check this out. Here's the greed indicator. Look at that. Forming right at that top. So that would be a reason not to be buying up there alone. Okay. If anything, taking profits. Scaling. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put this one on the buy list. I think it's got another big leg up. All right. Thank you there, Ed. All right. Hello there. Okay, let's see what we got. Good morning to you as well. All right, MVST. All right, let's get the owls a little bit more noticeable here. Okay. Let me take a look here. So we got the weekly, we got a green PTF on weekly and daily. Got a red owl on the daily and the weekly. And we've got some movement up on the 60-minute after a big trend down. So let's see where we're at with this. All right. So we had a fair value gap. Let me just bring this in a little so you can see it better. And then let me see if I can move that up. Okay. All right. So there we are. All right. So fair value gap here to here. All right. So it did its job. It filled that. The bottom did hold. We got to move off here. And we have a huge fair value gap here. We had a reversal there. Okay. We had a change in structure on the 60, and we had one here, technically here. Okay, I like to see it get above there. We don't have a change in structure at all on the weekly, but we do have a PTF. And the weekly, will change a lot slower than the daily. I always say it's like an aircraft carrier, weekly. Slow to change, and the smaller ships, which represent the daily and the 60, will change a lot quicker. All right, so I would say at this particular point, I would love to see a fair value gap in here. In other words, I'd like to see institutional involvement now that it filled there. You should see that, okay? You saw a fairly good turnaround here, all right? So I think this is okay for an early entry. I just put your stop at the very bottom, okay? At this point. They swept equity here on the 60. All right, so you have your silver bullet there. So I think it looks about as good as it can look. And so I'm going to put this one down as a buy. And that's MVST, okay? And I would target the top. All right, so your target's $7. And your stop's got to go at the very, very bottom, okay? And if you get stopped out, all right, reset, and let's see if it takes out that bottom and then reverses again, okay? But it's taken out the bottom several times. Here, okay, took it out here and here, all right? And here it did not. So again, this is why I would like to ideally, it doubled it though, I'd like to see it do a fair value gap. The only problem you have with this, you have to take the trade, okay? It's okay to take it. But this is setting up to be a lot of sell side liquidity, all right? So they may be engineering that to take it out again. And if that's the case, you want to stay with it. And after they do that, look for another rebound to the upside with institutional order flow, okay? And a PD array of a fair value gap, okay? So that's the only thing you're missing now. If you get a fair value gap in the next week, hey, great, you're good. But I would go ahead and take it, all right? All right, that's MVST. All right, RFIL. All right, this is also looking pretty good. All right, let's just take a look and see. All right, so we don't have, let me just see what kind of, let me just see if I can, yeah, that's it. All right, so, yeah, I can't move it anymore. All right, so took out here, not a lot of history, impossible to get an Elliott Wave account on that, okay? On that time frame anyway. So let's see what we got here. All right, you've got strong momentum, still moving up, green PTFs, but the PTFs are only, sitting here at 1233 and it's at 10. So at this particular point, that's a bearish 1B. We came down, we have a fair value gap here, touched it. You might be in an area of institutional order flow here, so I expect probably some more highs. You're going to have to put your stop. If you go long, you're going to have to put it under here, okay? This is a breakaway gap. I don't think that'll fill, but you have to put it under bar number 1 of a 3-bar fair value gap, okay? If you put it under here, you'll probably get hit. Now, if you wanted to wait to see if it comes to consequence encroachment, CE here, you could do that, but a lot of times they don't. So I would go ahead and take the trade and put your stop under here, all right? And then target a Fibonacci extension on that. And then if you get stopped out, that just means it's going into a wave 4 and it's going to come down a little further. But I don't think you're going to get stopped out even so, because that would be a 50% retracement. So I'm thinking probably you're looking at a high here of, I think probably it will go up to probably 18 or so for a high. And I'm basing that off a measured move. So you start the measured move at 5, you go up to here. So about another 6 will bring it to 18. Okay. So I'm going to put that one down as a buy too. All right. Now let's go on to your next one. Good job on these. ONDS. All right. ONDS, let's take a look at this one. Greed bar here. By the way, when you have a greed bar and prices don't go below the greed bar, but instead go above it, that basically just means the greed's going to continue. But if they go below it, then that means you're in for some type of correction or even possibly a change in trend, depending on when it forms. Okay, so strong on the weekly. Let me just back this up here. Again, I don't think we got a lot of history on these. You know, they only go back 6 years on this one. That's not a lot for stocks. All right, so pyramid trading point has you in. You had a nice fair value gap here. You took out structure. And now you're kind of in a wedge down here, moving down. Wedge format there. All right, you've got a fair value gap here. You got another pyramid forming there. You have no more green PTFs. So it'll be interesting to see. We may have a bottom here. Okay. What I'd like to see is a move above here. Okay. If you can get a move above this line here, then I think you will go ahead and make another measured move to the upside. Okay. So I'm not going to put this one down as a buy because it requires it to get above this high here. For me, okay? That's the way I would look at it. Because you see all these little fair value gaps. You still got pressure to the downside here. We're not technically out of the woods yet. This could still come down. So bring that back next week, okay? We'll put that on a watch list for you. ONDS. All right, good job. Thank you. All right, Frank. How are you, Frank? Okay. All right, ET or long? All right, so long is good. I think you should target this high here at 21.49 at the very least. So you're good there. And let me just see a little bit more history on this. So you're getting up into no man's land up there. Okay. Yeah, I would target here. Okay. Now, you could either take a partial as soon as you hit there, or you could trail your stop or do both. Okay. But I think you want to stay long here. Stock can go under the pyramid, which is beautifully marked. The orders, institutional order flow. Okay. Both it. Okay. So there you have it. That's a nice move up here. Okay. Now you're probably going to get a pullback. All right. But that's okay. This stop certainly should hold down here. Do not move your stops up close on this yet. Okay. You'll get stopped out. Keep your stop under the order flow area here. Institutional order flow right here. Okay. Right where that pyramid is. All right. So that looks pretty good. RGTI. And you want to buy this one. Okay. Let's take a look. All right. Well, what I like about this thinking is you're not buying up here. That's a good thing. All right. So it's pulled back down. All right. Green and green. And the target is here. Okay. So you have a nice, healthy target. Way the heck up around 50, let's say about 58, right? Okay. So we're still flatlining here. You got a bearish pyramid on the daily that's still, technically active. Okay. Don't take it because it's in a channel. We don't take them in the channel, remember? So I'm kind of liking this. What I'd like to see is a breakout above this pyramid here and even above here. Right now, this is in an accumulation stage. You do not want to be in here now. But the potential is the breakout. All right. So on this one here is RGTI. We put that on a watch list. Okay. So no go yet. FCEL. I had another client that was in this one. So this one here And let me just move this a little bit more here so we can see it better. Well, maybe I got to move it down. All right, give me 1 second. I'll move price over. Okay, so we have, and let's move it up if we can. Okay, so we've got a situation here where this is the target has been replaced by a shorter target. Okay, so that is a problem. All right, so the target is only this up here now, all right, 20s, but that's still a double your money. All right, so that looks good. That looks good. We have not broken this. And I'm sorry, are you long or thinking? Long, but sold 70%. Okay. All right, fine. But I think we're going to probably get above here at this point. I would hold it and I would use the pyramids on the 60-minute chart for now because they're taking into account this order block here. All right, you're going to get a pullback. When you get a pullback, you'll get a pyramid assessment on the daily. Just haven't gotten it yet. So use the pyramids on the 60 and stay with it. Okay, not too close. All right, you're going to have to keep the stops back. Okay, so I would not buy more now. Wait for a pullback. All right, so bring that back next week and we'll see. Just keep what you have for now. All right, Kumar's back with Target. Page is my wife said. Page. All right, so let's see what we got here. We've got nice move up. We got a nice move up off the bottom. So even though it looks like you have a big move up on the lower time frames, if you look on that weekly, it's still kind of just in the infancy of a move up. Let me drag this over. Okay, so that's a good sign. We have green here, and we have a change in structure. All right, let's see here. Look at the. All right, we took out. Look, we swept liquidity here. Look at this. Fair value block there. All right, change in structure here. This would have been your first long, and pull back here into this order block, another long. So on this case, I would stay with it. I don't see a reason to get out of it. Not yet, okay? Just don't have your stops so close, all right, that you get stopped out or wiggled out, okay? Let's take a look at UPS. Okay, UPS, good ones to be long in, all right? So again, similar thing in that, and I know we looked at this before, in that, you know, it's the infancy starting on the weekly chart. We broke structure there, okay? I would be taking profits on a short trade like crazy here, okay? And we have had a pretty nice strong move up. Now, with that said, we're starting to see a little bearish divergence in the owl on the 60-minute chart. And we've had a nice long uptrend here. Okay, you can even draw another trend line like that. Okay, so the thing is with this is that if you wanted to take a partial when it breaks any one of these trend lines, you could do that. I don't see a reason to sell it, all of it right now. But again, you're going to have your closest stop has to be down here at like 98 and below a quarter. Okay, because you got to give this room for these to come back and fill these fair value gaps. All right, so that's kind of what you got to be careful about. All right, so I think you could stay long, but I probably would scale out if it broke the trend line a little bit and keep the rest, just in case it goes into more of a major correction. And that is UPS. All right, CMG. All right, same thing here. We got a nice pullback there, and then a resurgence. We got a greed bar forming up here. We don't have a green PTF anymore. So this becomes stop loss placement. Now the pyramid's got it here for this trend. All right, so don't forget the pyramids, what they care about is the current trend. They're not looking at Elliott wave. All right, so you may get a fib retracement and then another surge up and get new pyramids that you can take then. So their job is to protect the trend. And that means you would have that there. Okay, I don't know where you got in. I don't know what your profit is. We don't have any PTFs signaling the high probability of more highs coming. Okay, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. They just weren't triggered on that last high. So that is the only thing with that. And let me just move this up here. Now, with that said, this is showing a wave 3, and this is a wave 4. So we may be in the beginnings of a wave 5. So again, if you think that, then you're more apt to be more lenient on your stop in terms of how much you want to give back, with the bias being that you're going to break a new high overall in this and get above 70, and you're at 40. Here's the issue, though. If this is the beginning of a wave 5 over here, all right, this would be wave 1. What do we know about wave 1? It can retrace. Wave 2 can retrace the entire distance of wave 1, form a double bottom, okay? So if you don't want that, then I would get out on the retracement, look for this to end, and then get back in, okay? So it's kind of a twofold answer. Hopefully that helps, okay? All right, so, okay, good. You got in at 840, excellent, okay? All right, Frank, let's take a look at these here. BFLY. All right, let's see. All right, nice move off the bottom. Give me 1 second. How many people out there are using TradeStation these days? Just out of curiosity, that are here. Let me know if there's an easier way to adjust these charts other than having to click on price and dragging them. I sure miss the chart enabling setting where you didn't have to worry about that. Okay, let's see what we got here. All right, so on this one, BFLY, long, but you sold 50%. Okay. We got to still have a green PTF on the 60. So short term, we should get above 5. And that coincides with this. I would sell another 25% if you break this high. And then put your stop. For right now, I put your stop under here. Okay, let's just say you can put it right here. And let me just see if he can give you, I'll give you a better place. Put it at the pyramid. Pyramid's nailed the OFIT there. Okay, so 425 there for your stop. And then take profits, take another 25% off when you get to 503. Okay, and then just trail the stops up on the pyramids on the 60-minute chart. Okay, 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 LO. All right, let's see what we got cooking here. Okay, so nice strong move and a pullback. So that's good. All right, we like pullbacks because that gives us an opportunity to get in. All right, so a couple things on this. This is actually setting up to be really nice. So basically, first thing we see, green, green, green. Second thing, wave 3. Second thing, wave 4. And that's a nice retracement into the wave 4 level. And look at the fair value gap sitting here. And look at the order block right here. It brought it right down to the order block. And then they had to bounce off the order block with another fair value gap. That's institutional participation. So now we've gone in consequence encroachment. I'd like to see rejection back up to the upside on the weekly chart before going long, and then put your stop under here. Now, that's what the weekly chart is showing me. So that is setting up to be this. Now let's go to the lower time frame and see if we can get a better entry. So we swept equity, we swept it again, and now we've moved off the bottom. Did we change structure? Yes. Pull back into the fair value gap area. We'll probably get a pyramid soon. That's an awesome place to think about buying. Now, what am I going to wait to see? I'd like to get above here, okay? This bar here is acting as your range. You also have, if you draw a trend line down here like this, well, that's not the greatest trend line, but you get the idea, more like that. All right, so if you drew that trend line down here like this, I'd wait for a break in the trend line, which should coincide to a break in the range. And then you want to be all over that, okay? So as much as I'd like to say, hey, go right now, I think you got to be a little smart and patient on waiting for that. So this one, OKLO, is setting up to be a really great one. So I'd love to put that down as a buy right now, but instead we're going to revisit it next week in case this thing heads down and fills these fair value gaps. You know, it could go down another 10 points before it's satisfied. Because don't forget, we have all these fair value gaps down here. This is the breakaway fair value gap. I don't think we'll fill that one. All right. But we may come down a little bit more into this before turning around. So we'll see. But this is a really good one. It's checking all the boxes. 50% retracement, wave 4, and you have green PTFs across the board. You have green owls on the long-term charts. You have PD arrays after taking out sweeping equity. Everything is setting up for a great long trade, and the target is going to be at least 193. So this is a double your money. Now, if you're thinking, well, I'll just trickle in now. Well, you could do that. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But you may see lower prices before it takes off. But this is one you don't want to miss. This is one of the best ones today. Okay. So Frank, good job. Okay. All right. Yeah, TradingView, I think I use TradingView too. I like TradingView. I don't mind Ninja either. Okay, Kumar, yeah. So you noticed that too. I don't know why they changed it. It was such a great feature. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, just briefly again, what TradeStation used to do is you used to be able to just take your mouse, if you had background enabled, put it anywhere on the chart and just drag it. Now you can't. Now you have to go to a price bar or an indicator, highlight that, make sure you don't highlight a trend line or else you'll move the trend line. All right. And then you can slide it, but it's an extra step. And it's kind of awkward. Yeah, Ninja's not bad, but TradingView is good too. All right, which is why we're probably going to program our software for TradingView. Okay. Okay, good. Now I feel better. I'm not the only one that it was annoying. Thank you, Kumar. Yeah, I found it annoying too. All right. Anyway, I think we beat that horse enough, right? Okay. Anything else? Going once, going twice. All right. Want me to go over the picks here? Then we'll wrap it up. Okay. So let's all right, I like TS service. So you like the TradeStation service. Okay. I get it. All right, let me just see if there's anything I missed. I think I didn't miss anything. So I think I'm okay. All right, good. I think we're in good shape here. All right, so let me just go over the tally for today. And actually, we found quite a few good ones, right? So on this, we found CRML. All right, that was a good one. GLXY, must, MUST. At least I think that was a U. Could be a V, but RFIL. Let me just type that one in and see. MUST. Nope, it must have been MVST. It'd help if I can read my own handwriting, right? Yeah, this is it. MV. Okay. All right, MVST. All right. So those are the ones that we like this week. And then on the watch list, our number one on the watch list is OKLO. So we want to keep an eye on that. FICO, FICO is on the watch list, SMCI, ONDS, and RGTI. Okay, so those are the ones we want to actually bring back next week. All right, you guys, listen, have a good week. All right, great job. And yes, it was MVST. You are correct. So I guess if you're on the East Coast, be careful out there. Bad weather coming in, right? All right. So thank you so much, everybody. You guys are awesome. Give us a like, and I'll put a little music on here, and we'll call it a day. But good picks for this week. Awesome. All right. So have a good one. We'll be back next week.